Hello everyone, this video is bound to make us achieve two objectives. First, we're going to get to know the relationship between the DHCP DNS and the web server with regards to the logical IP address that we have here. Two, we are going to see the automatic IP address configuration to the 5 PCs using DHCP server. We shall therefore go ahead, connect these intermediary devices using a network media. So the network media we're going to use is straight through cable. Shall begin straight away. Slot 0 port 1 to the first PC. Same to the second PC. Same to the third PC. Slot 0 port 3. Same to the fourth PC. And finally to our last PC, which is the fifth one. We'll do the same, but this time around let me use the last slot 0 port number for fast Ethernet, which is slot 0 port 24 to our web. We do the same to our DNS server. And finally slot 0 port 22 to go to our DHCP server. So we have one broadcast domain, meaning the boundary where these devices will be able to see one another, just one. So we do not need to come up with a gateway IP address where these PCs may wish or want to communicate with another PCs from a different network. So let's go straight ahead and assign statically the first three, and then we see how the PCs, which is our end devices in this case, able to get this logical IP address using this DHCP server that we have here. So I'll click on the desktop, then we assign the first IP address 10.1, have our mask. Default gateway is not necessary with this kind of setup that we have here, because you do not have more than one in a network to form an internetwork. So we move into our DNS server 10.2. Then from there we click on our services, we locate the DHCP server, we make sure the service is on, and our DNS server we assign it 192.168.10.2. So our start IP address will be 4 now that you have exhausted the first 3 on the servers. And the maximum number of users will also change, because when you look at the kind of logical IP address been given, maximally it can be able to take up to 254 computers. When we realize the IP address is already exhausted, the 3 will remain with 251 computers. So then we'll click on save button. So we'll be done with our DHCP server. We now go on to our DNS server. We do the same thing on the desktop, IP address configuration. We assign the second available IP address, which is 10.2. Mask would be the same, /24. We replicate the same IP address 192.168.10.2. Then after that we click on our services button. We look at our DNS server, make sure again the service is on. The IP address configuration, in this case we are going to use the IP address of the web server, which is 192.168.10.3. Then with that we look at the name. So I'd like to make a comment on this, where the public network, which is internet, you will discover that you type under the URL application layer protocol, the HTTP, many times you're going to type the IP address of your favorite site, like Google, like Facebook, and then what happens within a fraction of a second or minutes, depending on the speed of your internet, you'll be able to get your site into your PC or your workstation. So what normally happens here is the DNS server translates the name you have typed there on the URL to the IP address associated with it for you to be able to get the page. So in this case, we are going to have a dummy site, like this time around, this case, let me say we have a site called Kebogo, which is my name, www.kebogo.com. So that will be my site name, which is hosted on the web server and associated with that IP address. Then after that, we click the add button. So we have a record. We may have several sites that the DNS has kept track of in this regard. So we are done with the DNS server. Now let's come to our web server. And our web server shall begin the drill the same way: IP address configuration. Then you assign 192.168.10.3. We have our mask. Then you come and use our default gateway. As we said, it's one browser domain. It's not necessary as such. So the DNS server was 192.168.10.2. So we're done with our IP configuration from the web server. Then when you come to the services and we locate the web server, we need to ask ourselves now, when you look at the application layer protocols from the OSI reference model and the TCP reference model, you find that the application layer protocols for web is hypertext transfer protocol, because that is what we use in our browser to access any site. So when I click on my HTTP, I'll see the protocol, the two of them, the secure and the normal HTTP we use, and then these are the sites, because many times when you open a site, what comes up is the home page, which is the index file. So you may go ahead, edit the index file the way you wish for purposes of demonstration. Like here it's saying, welcome to Cisco Packet Tracer, open doors to new opportunities, mind wide open, blah 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 blah, like that. So you may twist it, re-edit it the way you want to be able to suit what you want to project. But for now, we can just leave it as it is. So we have our 3 servers already assigned with an IP address. So what we're going to do is to see whether this DHCP server will assign IP addresses to these computers automatically. We said it should start from 4. So click on our first DHCP server, desktop IP configuration, and then you click DHCP. It's going to request for IP address. There we have. It has already taken the IP address, the subnet mask, the DNS server. That's fine. We come to the second one. Click on IP address configuration, DHCP. It has already taken also. The third one, DHCP. So I hope you're taking note of that, because we started from 4 in the first PC, 5 in the second PC, 6 in the third PC, like that. So we move, and our final PC, which is the 5th one, has been given 8 as an IP address. So these PCs, the way they are like this, they are able to communicate with one another. We can be able to test from the first PC whether it's able to see the 5th PC, which is 192.168.10.8. So when I use packet internet grouper to test connectivity, I see there is communication. This communication. But let me reiterate the point again. If these computers, the 5 of them, any of them were to communicate with another computer in a different network, then we'd be required to have a router with us. Once we have a router with us, what will happen is the default gateway will be the IP address of the router's interface, so that when they are communicating using the address resolution protocol, that communication between the physical address and the logical address the router will now take the responsibility of ensuring the packet is actually being routed into the right interface for the other end device that is of interest in terms of communication. We are now going to see whether our PCs are able to access the website located on our web server, and then at the same time we see what role does the DNS play in this regard. So in PC1, click on the web browser, you can go ahead and type our website, which is www.kevogo.com. Then you click on Go button. There it is. We're able to see our site coming up. So what has happened? A DNS has played a role whereby it has been able to translate this URL or this domain name www.kevogo.com into that IP address that it's in its database. So we can demonstrate the same maybe using the 5th PC. This time around we just type the IP address. We see whether we can get the same results. 10.3, knowing that 10.192.168.10.3 is the IP address of the web server. There it is. It's also able to give us. So we've been able to see the relationship between the three. DHCP server will do the automatic IP address assignment to our end devices. The DNS and the web server will coordinate to be able to bring forth that site that you type in your browser and information from it. So thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please subscribe, because our next video on board will be how are we going to use a router to be able to perform the same function a DHCP and the DNS server are performing. And this time around we take care of the gateway, so that we see how the gateway is coming, because we now need the two different networks to be able to communicate with one another.